In June 2024, something happened in Kenya that had never happened before in our nation's history. Young Kenyans, most of them under 30, picked up their phones, took to the streets, and told the government, no. They rejected a finance bill. They stormed parliament. And the president, for the first time since independence, backed down. But here is the question nobody is fully answering: what exactly was in that bill? What was removed? And did the government quietly bring those taxes back through the back door? Stay with me. Today, we go deep. The Finance Bill 2024 was introduced on May 9, 2024 by the Cabinet Secretary for the National Treasury. It sought to raise an additional 302 billion Kenyan shillings, the largest single tax increase proposed in the history of Kenya's finance bills. Other estimates put the total target at 346 billion Kenyan shillings, intended to pay off debt and fund development projects. To raise that money, the government proposed taxes that touched almost every Kenyan's daily life. Here is what it originally contained. A 16% VAT on bread. Yes, the bread you buy at the kiosk every morning. A 2.5% motor vehicle circulation tax, a new annual tax on every car owner in the country. VAT on financial services, foreign exchange transactions, and the transportation of sugar. New taxes on vegetable oil and on mobile money transfers, meaning every M-Pesa transaction. And a new significant economic presence tax targeting digital platforms, at a proposed rate of 6%. The import declaration fee was also proposed to increase from 2.5% to 3% of the customs value of imported goods. In short, if it moved, if you ate it, if you sent it on your phone, they wanted to tax it. Remember from our last video, the Constitution guarantees every Kenyan the right to participate in the lawmaking process. And in 2024, Kenyans showed up. Submissions came from across the country. The message was clear: this bill is too heavy. Remove these taxes. The government responded by amending. The finance bill to remove the proposed 16% VAT on bread, VAT on transportation of sugar, VAT on financial services and foreign exchange transactions, and the 2.5% motor vehicle tax. The government called this listening to the people. Finance Committee Chairman Kuria Kimani confirmed these taxes had been scrapped from the bill. But here is what happened. Even after the VAT on bread was removed, the protests continued. Because the underlying frustration with governance and the cost of living ran far deeper than any single clause. On June 20, 2024, the bill went to its second reading. Parliament passed it, with 204 members of parliament voting for it and 115 opposing it. On June 18, huge demonstrations had already broken out across Kenya. Unlike the protests of the year before, these were not linked to any specific political party or opposition leader. They were organized exclusively through social media, TikTok, Instagram, and X. Hashtags like #RejectFinanceBill 2024 went viral, transforming digital spaces into hubs of resistance. This new form of decentralized, grassroots activism marked a departure from leadership-driven and ethnically segmented demonstrations that were traditional in Kenya. On June 24, Parliament passed the Finance Bill at its third reading. 195 members of Parliament voted in its support. The next day changed everything. On June 25, 2024, thousands of protesters stormed the Kenyan Parliament building in Nairobi in response to the passing of the Finance Bill. The protest escalated when police opened fire on peaceful protesters. The protests resulted in 50 deaths, over 230 injuries, and 283 arrests. The Parliament building itself was set ablaze. These were not criminals. These were Kenyans, students, young professionals, ordinary citizens, exercising their constitutional right to peaceful assembly under Article 37 of the Constitution. With these words, I concede, President William Ruto yielded to public dissent and announced he would not sign the Finance Bill. The people have spoken, Ruto said in a televised address. On Thursday, July 25, 2024, the National Assembly voted in agreement with the President's reservations and recommended that all clauses of the Finance Bill 2024 be deleted, rejecting the bill in its entirety. With the Finance Bill gone, Kenya operated under the Finance Act 2023 starting July 1, 2024, to finance the 3.9 trillion Kenyan shillings budget for the financial year. President Ruto signed the Appropriations Bill 2024 into law as a stopgap measure, alongside a 999 billion Kenyan shillings budget cut. The Finance Bill 2024 was dead. But the story was not over. This is the part of the story that most Kenyans do not know. After the Finance Bill 2024 was rejected, the government did not simply give up on raising revenue. Instead, it introduced new bills with quieter names, and brought some of those rejected taxes back. In August 2024, Treasury Cabinet Secretary John Mbadi announced plans to reintroduce key provisions from the suspended Finance Bill 2024 through a newly proposed Tax Procedures Amendment Bill 2024. Then in October 2024, came the bigger move. The government published the Tax Laws Amendment Bill 2024, which explicitly sought to reintroduce some of the provisions that were contained in the ill-fated Finance Bill 2024. What came back? Among other things, the significant economic presence tax, a tax on digital platforms. The Finance Bill had proposed this at 6% of gross turnover. The Tax Laws Amendment Bill brought it back at a reduced rate of 3%. A minimum top-up tax targeting multinational companies, ensuring they pay at least a 15% effective tax rate in Kenya. This had also been in the original Finance Bill. The President assented to both the Tax Laws Amendment Act and the Tax Procedures Amendment Act in December 2024, bringing these provisions into law. So while the bread tax and the motor vehicle tax stayed dead, some of the other provisions from the Finance Bill 2024 did eventually find their way into law, just under different names, at different rates, with less public attention. Here is what 2024 taught us. Public participation works. When Kenyans speak loudly enough, the government listens. But democracy is not a one-day event. It requires you to keep watching, because sometimes, what the people rejected through the front door comes back quietly through a side window. The Constitution gives you the right to participate. The question is whether you will use it, not just during the fire, but every single year when the Finance Bill is tabled. Share this video. Subscribe. And in our next episode, we'll break down the Finance Bill 2025, because that process is happening right now. Asante. Tutanana.